Hello and welcome to the Eurocast, the series about the EU, from news and commentary, critics and opinions to deeper analysis, delivered to you weekly. Grab yourself a beverage of choice, remember to stay hydrated and healthy, sit down and enjoy listening to us while you do your chores or lie down or whatever. Current date, we are recording this 6th of July 2024, so keep that in mind. And today with me is Anastas, our French spy and Europhile.
Hello, everybody. Hope you have a good day, and let's go.
Yep. So today we will be talking about lots of elections. First one is elections in France. The second one is the elections in the UK. The third one is minor elections in Poland. And yeah, that's pretty much it. When it comes to the third one, this is quite an interesting one because it shows you why we as a Polish people have issues with PiS, the party. So, enjoy this one. Let's start off with elections in France. What really happened? Is this an issue when it comes to, for example, the National Front?
For those of you who are listening that didn't know, the last 30th July, the French election happened, the legislative election, which will decide the makeup of the National Assembly. In those elections, which was the first round, we observed a high rise in the number of far-right deputies, notably from the party of the RN, which includes notoriously Eurosceptic Marine Le Pen and her successor Jordan Bardella. In this party, there was a high rise of the far-right voters, notably in the rural France and some in the cities as well. This is a sharp rise compared to the previous elections, and this follows the trends of that the far right has been following when it comes to their popularity within the general populace. What I could tell you as well is that basically, if you look at the makeup of the seats, if you were to base it on the first round, you'd get something like 205 seats from the far right, which is basically much below a majority, which, by the way, when it comes to the French system, there is two rounds, because if one party does not get direct majority, which will be at least 47%, there will be a second round until one party in particular wins the majority. The absolute majority.
Okay, so basically it's a runoff, and those elections will continue up until one party has an absolute majority, or?
No, it's the second round, is the last round, is the very last, and there will only be basically two parties running, which are the two with the two most votes, the first two that had the most votes in the first round, which in this case would be the far left party and the far right party. And to basically sway the electorate, there will be alliances within the center, the centrists, the moderate right, this type of stuff.
So how seats are picked? If you have this runoff, how exactly are the votes from this runoff appropriated if it's only between those two parties?
So basically, it's a legislative elections, which means that it's a standard go to vote to your nearest office and to elect a candidate which represents your region, your area. Then this candidate belongs to a certain party. That is the part of the first round. If no one in the first round has an absolute majority, we're going to the second round, and the two party which has the most votes or the biggest share.
Oh, okay. So this is like regional mandates.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I get this. So just basically one mandate areas.
Yeah. That's basically this. It's the National Assembly. So yeah, it's the deputies mostly.
So it basically always goes into runoff, right?
I can't tell you the last time someone won on the first round because right off the top of my head, I don't even think Macron had the first round ever. I don't think he did, especially not on his second term. Um, I'll go ahead and say that the last time must have been Chirac. Chirac, maybe. So yeah, as I was saying, basically the National Assembly will be the place where each and every one of the elected representative will be governing the country. But one particularity of the French system is that the only person that can affect and decide foreign policy is the president. Like, how to say this? Mm,
He's like
the
a foreign minister, a foreign affairs minister with lots of his own powers.
Yes, compared to other republics and democracies, the president in France has a lot more power. Like, he can basically dissolve the assembly. He can, what else can he do? He can decide. There's a lot of privileges that he has, and foreign policy is absolutely one of them. He's the only judge of foreign policies, and the National Assembly and the deputies cannot decide any. They can only vote on laws and internal matters. So even if the RN were to get a majority, that wouldn't interfere with Macron's foreign policy. What else I could tell you is that I could tell you about the actual makeup of the result of the first rounds.
Yep.
So I'll introduce you basically to different parties, which in first of all the RN, which is the far right parties that I introduced earlier, which includes Marine Le Pen, Jordan Bardella, and his the Eurosceptic party. Then there is the left coalition, which is the NFP, and it includes a lot of far left and moderate left parties. Then there is the center, the centrists, which is the how to say this, the coalition of a few centrist parties and a large one. And then there is the Republicans and various right-wing politicians.
Yep.
So the actual makeup is that 34% of the votes went to the RN, so the far right. Then 29.6 went to the NFP, which is the left coalition. 22.4% went to the centrists and the Together party. And then 10% went to the Republicans, which is the moderate right, and various right-wing parties. And the rest is 3.8%.
Okay. So, for the predictions of the second round.
If I had to make a prediction, it would be based on the general perception of the left coalition, which is the NFP. And basically, it includes a few actors which are quite radicals, and notably Jean-Luc Mélenchon, if you're familiar with him, Martin. And basically, he's a radical leftist and is quote unquote a boogeyman when it comes to radical reforms and this type of stuff. He's only a part of the coalition, but he's the most notorious one. And so a lot of people are afraid of radicals wherever they may come from. So when it comes to intentions of voting, it will also depend on the general perception of the RN, which is the right wing coalition, not the right wing party, and how people think they are going to dominate, and if they are going to dominate or not. Because if they are going to, people are going to quote
So, lots of
unquote.
people are basically going to vote for the far left party, right?
I don't think. I'm not going to try to make a prediction, but I can tell you that a lot of people are afraid of radicalism, far left radicalism, because the commies are going to tank the economy. Like they want to cripple the companies, this type of stuff. It's going to downgrade the salaries of everyone. This type of stuff, which is only a part of the of the left coalition, but it's the most notorious part. So there's a lot of skeptics when it comes to the left coalitions, but I think it will be more so about opposing the right than voting for the left. That's what I think.
Okay. Okay, that's quite makes sense. So, thank you for that segment.
No problem.
Okay, as far as the British election goes, when it comes to that, I have some good news. Conservatives has been decimated. Really. When you look at the map right now, you can see that there's lots of red everywhere. Even places you wouldn't even think of, like Northeast England or Greater Manchester or South Wales. Wales! There's more red in Wales than blue. Okay, and in the Sea of Red, we can see small holdouts. That's basically if you live very closely to London and hate all the people in London. That's Greater London and the outskirts that didn't get the memo because apparently horse carriage travels there by I don't know. It like travels there very, very long. Then, of course, all the small cities are red. And, next to some small cities, there you see some blue, which is nice because, sure, this still needs to be a multi-party system, not a single party system. But let's just say that conservatives won't fix it for long, very long. I don't really expect them to recover anytime soon, really. Unless we will see if the new government really wants to basically shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly, then sure, probably this will happen. As far as everything else goes, can't really think of anything else more fitting than nobody in Northern Ireland except for one county voting for conservatives. I'm sure there are some jokes that are hidden in there. I won't be searching for them. And of course, when it comes to Scotland, oh, Scotland. Nothing is blue in Scotland except for two counties. Only those two counties near the city of Aberdeen. So yeah, I would say those lands don't have a lot of people living on them. That makes sense why people are voting conservative in there. Uh, I mean, of course, there are more counties near England, but that's quite understandable if you think about it. Why people would hate English people so much that they would vote conservative, just to spy them. So, very good results from Britain that, well, we knew for a time they will be great, but not that great. Okay, so now I know which color represents this strawish yellow. Turns out that's Scottish National Party. Very, very good. And they want to rejoin the EU. So that's great. Other parties that would want to rejoin the EU potentially. Of course, the Green Party, Labour Party, not really. Liberal Democrats, yeah, and they've been gaining a lot. I won't be pronouncing that. The Welsh Party, Rejoin, and Scottish Greens, already said them. So really, you can only, think about those parties that don't want to rejoin, because lots of those parties want to join back. Alba Party, for example, EFTA and EEA only, but not the EU. Haha, pipe dream. We won't let that happen. Alliance want to rejoin. So those parties that want to stay out are Conservatives, Labour, Unfortunately, we will see. I don't think they're very opposed to that idea. Reform UK wants to stay out, but yeah, sure, that's Farage for you. And the Workers' Party want to stay out, which is very non-worker position if you think about this, but that's probably some communist bullshit. Sure, let's go.
Yeah. So basically, you talked about the Labour Party not being pro EU for as in pro EU as to rejoin yet. That's a bit of a shame, but I'm not totally surprised because that has been a very split decision when the vote happened, and you can really expect something like that to swing the other way in such a short amount of time. You mentioned the Liberal Democrats, which I believe are were mainly getting their votes in which region did they get their votes from?
Honestly, cities and lots of countryside.
Mainly Scotland, England.
I mean, let's say all of the regions really voted for them. Maybe not really Northern Ireland, but they have their own parties there. But even in Northern Ireland, they have one county. So I wouldn't say this, is a bad result. Wales, two counties for them, I think, or only one county. I'm not sure how to read that line, and I don't remember where the border is. When the border is, it's not marked on that one. Lots. Let's just say that mostly conservatives and liberal Democrats were split in England. I would say, like from what I am looking at, there is a large split in favor of the conservatives, but only if you see it county by county. However, really, Labour did win by such a landslide.
Okay, I see. So that's a bit encouraging. If even in England we have a Liberal Democrat Party that is being quite popular from from what we're seeing. Mm, yeah, I believe that the Labour.
I believe that county before was, conservatives. So bear that in mind.
Okay, that is very interesting. So now basically all Labour has to do is to not mess up, which is easier to say.
Yeah, it's way easier to say than done. We will see how that happens because I'm not really sure if they can keep this up. I really think that mostly people wanted to vote out conservatives as much as they could.
I see. There was a
And that was the only option.
Yeah, I mean the Tories have been in power since 2010, basically. So they have had a long amount of time to fuck up, quote unquote. And now that was their time ran out, basically.
Oh yeah, like definitely their time did run out. They were quite overdue for a replacement, I would say.
Quite overdue for a very long time. I watched Rishi Sunak exciting speech when he was replaced, and I was very surprised as to the facade he presented. Like compared to his ruling facade, to his exiting facade, there was quite a lot of difference. So I was wondering why he didn't show this during his ruling years.
I would say for most of the part, he's just so memorable in, all the wrong ways. If you think about this, like, come on, a homeless guy comes to you and you're like, are you a businessman by any chance? you could tell that guy was homeless. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a wrong way to approach your audience.
Yeah, I think really when your opinion of a common man is so low, you can mistake an actual homeless person for a businessman.
That is
You
that
know?
is an insane law. Then an insane law.
Yeah, because like he's just so out of it, out of like their real life, that like come on.
Right now, that sounds a lot like Macron. Frankly, I mean, the man is a banker, Macron, talking about him. So there's always this sensation of disconnect from the common people. But I don't think, at least, that he has ever mistaken a homeless person for a businessman. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. So definitely, this one did take a lot of being, out of the common people for a
Yeah.
very long time. I would say, for it to be so bad.
Yes.
And it's also crazy thinking that liberal Democrats will be flipping, conservative seats, left, right, and center, turns out.
Yeah, the Democrats are on the rise. And I mean, compared to Labour, it's not as big as an explosion. But I think that the Liberal Democrats' base will be more stable compared to Labour, which is a more of a reactionary movement.
Yeah, like definitely Labor won't keep this up in the next election, I would say. They will lose some seats just because having that large of a support for Labor isn't the case. People just hate the conservatives. It's not a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, the goal was just to get the conservatives out of power. So right now, if we are to look at the most quote unquote serious contenders for the next election, which will when is the next election? Uh,
Oh man, in 5 years, I would say, unless they make it quicker, because recently none of the elections
yeah.
happened on time.
So 2029, 2029 or 2028, basically. Yeah.
Something like
So
that.
by then, Labour will have lost, I believe, half their support at least, and I expect the Liberal Democrats to get more popular.
Yeah, like they definitely have a shot this election, which they can be a really, really good third candidate that could actually eat up the rest of the conservatives. There won't be just so much media attention around conservatives this
Yeah.
time around, because they aren't the biggest. They are quite frankly the losers of this election, and everybody loves a wild third horse.
I mean, when you take into account the position in which the conservatives were to begin with, they were barely holding on to power. So it was only a matter of time before they got out. And right now, what I'll say is just that the UK. I don't know about the policies of Labour when it comes to the economic policies, the foreign whatsoever, but I think it will be an improvement compared to the least trust years. I'll say that.
Man, you don't really. I see you're very pessimistic because everything is an improvement to
I
least
mean, it
last
wasn't
years.
even years; it was like weeks, I believe.
It was less than 70 days. It was the shortest, prime ministerial position in
Yeah,
history, I think.
she may or may not also have caused the death of Queen Elizabeth, so there's that as well.
Yeah, like there's no proof she
Yeah,
didn't. right? She was there. That's suspicious. Somebody should investigate that. I'm sure new government will make the plans in motion to do this. And let's go to Poland. Okay, let's start talking about Poland. As far as the Poland goes, yeah, so our party in law, our current leaders, our great, perfect overlords are the Koalicja Obywatelska, so the civic coalition, not the Peace Party. Peace Party did lose. However, now they did win in lower Poland. Actually, they did win in the local elections. So this, like, if they didn't get this guy by July 9th, it would be necessary to hold early elections. So that's why they wanted to confirm this guy so much. However, yeah, they couldn't elect it before, they couldn't even now, because Jarosław Kaczyński did basically personally assign a guy to this task. His name is Łukasz Kmita. He lost. And the wild third card did basically win. So he looked at this and were like, hey, you know what? I will back down. Let's elect that second guy. But he did actually suspend people in his party over it. So it's not like he isn't mad. He is mad. He is very mad. He just don't want for it to look that way, I guess. I don't know what's the point of it if you can see those suspensions, but
the public facade.
Yeah. Like, basically, when it comes to peace, that's why I hate them. Everything is steered centrally. In any other party, everything else is from the bottom up, right? So the lowest tiers influence everything that happens on the top.
Yeah.
Because everyone can replace you, and you will be replaced if you fell behind, right? Like, they won't keep a loser. They will replace you with somebody else. And there are people just waiting for, for your spot to open up. Not as much with peace. With peace, you need to be loyal to the leader. And the loyalty to the leader gets you places there. That's why I hate them.
Okay, that sounds like a dictatorship, basically.
Yeah, like, this isn't democratic. They don't have any democracy inside. Like, day-to-day tasks, of course, technically it's democratic, but everybody knows that Kaczynski has such a following in there because he personally did build the career of every single one in there.
So it's basically a network of favors.
Yeah, he is an investor in you. Basically, like, you're being invested in. And there will be time, like in Mafia, there will be time when he will need your help. However, for that to occur, everybody has to see as if Kaczynski is making careers. So, if you're his appointee, that thing happens. However, here, this did ring false. You know what I mean?
I absolutely see what you're talking about, indeed.
Kaczynski has no power if the people he actually nominates won't win.
I mean, he's basically relying on, how to say this?
Soft power.
Soft power. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for.
Yeah, but just Favor from Kaczynski is so important because he's the only one that can make moves there. So without his favor, you're nothing. Without, his golden eye that looks at you. We have a saying that, if you're a farmer and this is your own animal, instead of hiring somebody else to do your work, you have the golden eye that makes the cows fatter.
Mhm.
Basically, this means that if you hire somebody, they will steal that food for themselves instead of giving it to the cow.
So basically, corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. So, he wants to be seen as that guy, that farmer. But instead, he's really that second hired guy that steals from the cow because the cow could afford everything on their own in that party. Like
Yep.
Kaczynski is an unneeded, outdated ballast. And lots of people in that party start to see that. So that's why it's such a big story. That's why I wanted to cover it, because it's not as if something like this could happen before. Nobody wanted to mess with, the Mr. President of the party.
hmm It's a basic power relationship.
Yeah. Or rather, I can say it and, being more concise, you don't fuck with boss's orders.
No, absolutely not. If you want to keep your place, you never do.
But, like the way that I see that, those people were just even kind of announcing to the world, like, hey, we aren't controlled from the central. So if you want a split, we are available because now we're on a shit list.
Okay. So basically, what I gather from what you're telling me is that Polish politics sounds different because it's more faction based, and I get the impression that the factions
Oh,
are
no,
more
no, no. Don't
established.
get me wrong. This isn't the standard in Polish politics. This is just how law and justice operates.
Oh, okay.
Like everywhere else in every other party, it's not like that.
hmm
In every single other party, there are no pre approved candidates. So, and as far as this goes, like this guy that won, he ran unopposed. So that shows you that just the central did give up on that guy's candidature. Like Kaczynski knew that he cannot force this, right?
hmm Yeah, it was inevitable, basically.
Yeah, like he just did give up. And that's crazy to see, like Kaczynski giving up and just, he did suspend 6 people. He would throw them out before.
Do
And
you
they get
think?
off with only a suspension. You know what I mean?
Do you think because it is because he's slowing down, like as he ages, he's basically slowing down, basically mentally, this type of stuff?
I think he might be seeing that right now the only thing he needs the most is friends,
Hmm.
Because this was a light sentence from Kaczynski, just a suspension. Who cares?
Mhm.
Like before that, they would have been thrown out from the party and they couldn't seek re-election.
Okay.
However, I will tell you some stuff that did happen in the history. So we have this party called Solidarna Polska, Polish Solidarity, or rather, yeah, whatever. They call themselves that because they split from Law and Justice and they needed to pick as generic a name as they. So, that's how they got about this. But they split from Law and Justice, and then Law and Justice reacquired them. And now there's talk about them splitting up again. This is their largest coalition, which technically for all purposes and all intents, like, this was just an arm of the Law and Justice Party, just with a different name and with a leader that had some say with Kaczynski. And, there is talk about Law and Justice splitting with them again. So I really think that Kaczynski doesn't really want to throw people out of his party anymore, because he knew that this would be an opportunity for Solidarna Polska, potentially. And, because currently he just took those splinter parties, because then nobody else can, find another way to get elected, right? You have to go through him in order to be elected with your kind of views, with your kind of platform.
Okay, so basically he's handpicking the people he wants in power.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So, with this, this looks like he doesn't want to get rid of them because of that, because that could help potentially a splinter cell from within them. However, I think that also not punishing those people will cause the same split, because they will split over a leader. Right now, if you can just reject Kaczynski's helping hand with this, helping you decide who to choose, you can do that, but Kaczynski won't be happy, I'm sure of it. But he will just accept it silently. And that's a big power for people like that,
That is very interesting, the internal politics you're describing to me right now. Because
they have their own microcosm.
Yeah.
They remember that the only thing those people knew from their times is Polish Communist Party. So they kind of subconsciously try to emulate this. It's sort of weird.
I see. That's very yeah. What I get from this is that there's a faction within a faction, and that basically the old guard between peace, inside of peace at least, is trying to keep the power by trying to select the new people that they want to elect. Am I right?
You have factions within factions within factions, and everything that unites them is their leader, Jarosław Kaczyński. I mean, technically, Ziobro is the leader of Solidarna Polska, but people don't look to him like the boss, He's just the guy in their party. The boss is always the boss, is Kaczyński. But right now, his power of deal making isn't as good as people did think it is. So he's kind of overrated if you think about it.
That is funny to think about. That is very, very funny. But that didn't really stop him from getting into power, so.
And let's cut this here. So thank you, everybody, and catch you next week.
Bye, everybody.